How is everybody going? And this is Superhero Tuesdays. We have a special guest. Also, he actually works with our company and does a lot of mortgage stuff with our company, but I actually wanted to have him come on because actually for the next couple weeks, we're going to be talking about balance as a parent and as an entrepreneur, which I think all of us in the room here can pretty much relate to, use a lot of help with that and all that other stuff. But to ask Tom, and also I'm wondering why you're a superhero, Tom.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a superhero, but I would say my little girl is a superhero for sure. And okay. Thank you, first of all, for both of you for having me on your podcast. Our daughter has a rare neurological brain disorder called Rett Syndrome. And it affects basically 1 out of 10,000 little girls across the country. It affects the X chromosome more so than the Y. It only affects the X chromosome. That's why when most young men get it, they die within the first 3 months. It is a neurological brain disorder. It's a deletion of their MPC2 or MECP2 gene. And what happens is these little girls develop typical until about the age of 2. And then at the age of 2, you start to notice that things aren't right. Mm-hmm. They lose, if they were talking, they lose speech. They lose all hand movement. Most of them can't walk. In Brenna's case, it's a real miracle because the regression phase lasts from about 2 to 4.5. And anything that they lose during that regression phase, they typically never get back. So Brenna never walked before regression. And she walks kind of, I call it like a Frankenstein walk. It's a bobble more or less. But for the most part, 60% of the time she's in a wheelchair. But basically these girls, they are cognitive little girls and they're trapped within a body that doesn't work. The easiest way for me to describe Rett syndrome is be like driving your car and you turn your right blinker on and your car goes left. So, they go through, there's a lot of things that they go through. The average girl has multiple seizures a day. Brenna had at her most over 24 hours, she had 26 seizures.
Wow. So,
typically right now it's a 1 to 3 times a day seizure with her on multiple seizure medication. But like I said, she's my superstar. She's my hero, my angel, because she keeps fighting the good fight. But to go back to the cognitive part of the girls, they are cognitive. Brenna has a machine called a Toby that reads the retina of her eyes. Okay. And is a full functioning Windows computer. So she can literally tell me, or look at an icon of me and say, "Dad, I want food." And will open up her food icons. She has an emotions page. So she is 60% in general education classes, and the other, she's in the special needs room. So,
and how old is she?
She's 9. Yeah,
wow,
9 years
amazing.
old.
Yeah,
that's cool. So it's you and your wife, and you also have one other child too, right?
Yeah, I got a 7-year-old little guy named Grayson. So okay. Yeah.
So a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. Well, as everybody knows that myself, my wife Kristi, we have 5 kids ourselves, and as a parent and to be an entrepreneur myself, it's very tough. And not only with yourself, you have 2, which is tough to have any kind of kids, right? And now also you have one with the Rett syndrome. How do you balance your entrepreneur lifestyle, basically your business, mm-hmm. with your family? Because I know your wife also owns a hair salon.
Yeah. So my wife is fantastic. She's phenomenal. And, we've just come up with, we're huge time blockers. I mean, I think most of us as entrepreneurs are, and that is the saving grace. And we have what we call our village, right? And you pick those village of people to come into your life that can help and support you in those scenarios, and we have an amazing village right now. Now, most of the time, for instance, with Brenna, she goes to school year round because it's good for special needs mm-hmm. children to continue to structure. Absolutely. And so she's in school right now. We call it summer camp because she thinks it's funny, but so she's at summer camp. But as far as keeping that entrepreneur spirit, I have my late nights and my wife has her late nights, and it allows us always that opportunity to be with our children. And when you go through what we've been through and the things that we've seen, which I wouldn't wish on anyone, you realize how precious each and every day is, you know? And so it's really, you know, when I look at her as well as my son, but it's like, how can I get up today and be better than I was yesterday? And so that's what keeps me focused and keeps me moving forward as the entrepreneur. Like, how can I do things better? Because I believe wholeheartedly that at one point in time, there will be a cure. There's numerous different treatments going on around the country, one at Boston Children's, one in Texas, and then there's a lot of neat things going on in neural pharmaceuticals out of Australia. So, you know, some of the testing that they have done with the girls have started to speak again. So, so we're extremely hopeful, but from an entrepreneurial spirit, I mean, I don't think there's anything in my world that gives me more drive than that, right?
Yeah. The toughest thing is to basically tell your kids, I'm sorry, I can't do that because dad didn't get up to go to work today, or I'm sorry, we can't do that because mom didn't do this. So that's what you try to avoid 100%. Huh?
100%. And we try to make everything as typical, right? Because our big pet peeves, and people, again, don't know what they don't know, but, you know, when someone says, well, I have 5 normal kids. Well, what's normal?
There is no normal.
There is no normal, right? So for us, it's educating people like, hey, you know, we have a special needs child and then we have one awesome typical child, right? And so it's just those little verbiages of things that we learn. But for us, we want Brenna to be as active as possible. So for me, that means, you know, I got to stay in shape because if she wants to jump on the trampoline with her friends, I'm holding her in my arms. I'm jumping on the trampoline, you know?
Mm-hmm. You've got to be her extension.
Exactly.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning scheduling is key, you know, making sure your time blocking and things like that.
Yeah.
I know that there's some weeks that I call you up and say, hey, can you help my client out with this mortgage aspect? And you're like, hey, tonight's my night. I'm daddy daycare tonight, so I'll be able to talk to your client after 9 o'clock once my wife gets home. So is that because your wife is going out? Is that because she's doing entrepreneurial stuff for herself?
She could be doing payroll at the salon on a Tuesday night, on a late Tuesday night, and then she goes out after that because she needs that. And I'm glad that she takes that time to do those things. It's important for her because even though I'm doing work, you know, I still get to go out to lunch with you guys, right? So there's that piece of it. But the other piece is that I want to be with my kids with undivided attention, you know, and to do that one night a week on a Tuesday night, I don't think is the strategic partnerships that I have with people realize that, understand it, and respect it. And I think if you put that out there to those folks that you work with, no matter what your business is, I think there's a level of respect that comes with it. And,
absolutely.
And frankly, those are the folks that I want to work with, right? That do understand that.
I was just going to say the people who don't respect that aren't necessarily maybe the people that you want in your circle anyways.
Exactly. Yep.
Because at the end of the day, nobody looks back and says, wow, I wish I would have worked more.
Right.
They look back and say, wow, I wish I would have spent more time with my family.
So going on that topic, basically, know what to sacrifice and what's non-negotiable.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I think that, you know, I constantly try to educate myself, reading, listening to books, you know, doing those things. And recently I just heard something where it's like, hey, if the average male lives to 78 years old, right? And, you know, you're 40 years old, you have, you know, 38 more summers left. Now,
that's it, huh? Yeah, time goes by fast when you're getting older. I say that to my kids all the time. Like, look, I ain't got much time left. You guys don't waste my time.
Right. So you have 38 more summers left. What are you going to do with those 38 summers? And I'll take it to another degree, which my wife hated. But the average life expectancy of my daughter is 26 years old. Wow. She's 9. So how many more summers do we have left, and what are we going to do with them?
Yeah, that's definitely thinking about things different. That really, really hit myself in the head right now. So yeah, definitely.
Every day is a blessing.
It is.
And it needs to be treated that way. And I think a lot of us, especially business owners and successful people and people just in the grind and the hustle, we get stuck in the forward momentum with our business and we start to kind of overlook our family. And you need to make that conscious decision to say, no, this is what I'm doing on your Tuesdays.
Right.
Undivided attention. This is me. This is my family. Don't bother me.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and that's basically what you do, because it's on your Tuesdays at your home and you relieve.
Yeah, Tuesdays, and that, and my wife is like, known across the state of Michigan as this wonderful woman that does updos for all these brides. So on Saturdays, she's usually doing updos with brides. She always is.
My wife wants to get an updo from her. So.
Awesome. So Saturdays is my day as well, and I love it. It's my day, and we have a special thing, and we cook eggs on the grill, and there's things that we do that mom doesn't do because I'm a better cook, but those are the type of things that we make those memories, and there's a lot of amazing people that, again, like the village that has come into Brenna's life. There's one gal that runs a lot of these marathons and Tough Mudders and all those kind of things, and every time she wins a race, she sends Brenna all of her medals. So we have a wall full of like
That's
200
awesome.
medals.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So also, guys, just what do you do, like work-wise, entrepreneur-wise?
I'm a mortgage lender. I've been a mortgage lender for 22 years.
Okay.
So we specialize in all mortgage products. Basically, the only thing we really don't do is land. But my big passion is for our veterans and first responders, and truly helping those that have, being honored to serve those that have served us.
That's one of the major reasons that if you aren't Superhero Tuesdays is basically because first and foremost you are helping our clients and you are helping the superheroes that are out there in the world: first responders, veterans, teachers, nurses, doctors. But also that you're a parent yourself and you do have the child that has special needs, and you are a pretty good dad when it comes to that stuff. Really, that's one of the reasons that I personally have you on this podcast today, and stuff like that. So you might not think of yourself as a superhero, but I know my wife and myself's eyes.
And I'm sure your daughter looks at you that way.
Definitely you're a superhero.
Thank you.
And if your wife doesn't say that about you,
I'm sure she does all the time. Yeah. I'm just never there.
That's how most of us work. Yeah. We'll never say it to your face.
Right.
But it's one of the few things you want people to talk about behind your back.
Yeah.
So being an entrepreneur and actually, trying to be a parent too, do you ever get your kids involved with your work or anything like that?
Yeah, every now and again I'll take Grayson to work with me. He'll hang out, and he always asks, Dad, what do you do? And I always tell him, buddy, we bring the big bag of money to the closing table for people buying houses.
Awesome.
And so he loves that, and Brenna we'll roll Brenna in, and we'll just hang out.
You should one day, like one of our closings, you can do it at one of our closings. Bring them in and have it just like a big bag of fake money, right?
Right.
And just bring it in and be like, I got the money.
Exactly.
That would be pretty cool.
One of the things I really do that I think is crucial is, because it's more difficult for even say our parents and so anyone really, because they're not familiar with what goes with Brenna, is I do a daddy-daughter date, and I do that twice a month, and I take her to a restaurant, and we have our favorite restaurant that we go to, and it's just me and her, and she thrives off of that. She glows for the next 2 days because her and Dad went to breakfast, and I make it a point to let her know it's nobody else, girl. It's just me and you. And then, of course, I do that with my son as well. Mm-hmm. But it's crucial to have those. I think one-on-ones, especially as from the sense of the entrepreneurial, like you got to keep the real real.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you ever go on dates with your wife? Do you ever give her time too?
Absolutely. We try for at least one date night a month, but again, sometimes with care, it's tougher. Both of our folks are older, so they don't have the ability or strength to lift Brenna up and put her into bed. Right.
Now, you were telling me about getting a little bit more into, do you ever go on date nights with your wife and stuff? And I know it's tough for you because you have 2 kids, one special need, and it's tough for a lot of parents to be able to go on date nights with their own kids. With them, not your kids, right? It's tough for myself and my wife,
What's a date night?
Yeah, what's a date night? I don't even know what that is. We have a nanny too, and we don't even go on date nights too. Do you guys have a nanny also?
We do. We have 2 wonderful college gals that eventually will lose, but they're going to school to be special needs teachers.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure. So you were telling me the story about you're the owner of Benchmark, I believe.
Yeah.
And so they invited you down to Mexico, and like, you know, you were like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. You know, you were really worried about leaving your kids.
Yeah, so it was the first time. So Jen and I used to travel a lot, and Brenna at that time probably was about 6 years old. And when he first recruited me, he said, hey, you know, I want you to come to our production trip and check this out. And I was like, I'd love to, but I can't, you know. And it was like, well, maybe I should. And then we're thinking about Jen staying home. And I was like, I just can't. We haven't traveled since our daughter was diagnosed. And he was like, look it, man, you come here, and if you need to get home, I will fly you home. I will get you home. Yeah. And it was
something about there was two private jets there.
Yeah. And I'll send you home.
Yeah.
And
how awesome is it working for a company that has those values?
Right. The core values. And that's one of the reasons I went to Benchmark. Yeah. You know, I mean, I've been with Benchmark now for 3.5 years. And, you know, everyone can say, hey, my company is the greatest, but my company is the greatest. I laugh when recruiters call me because I'd never leave this company because of just the core values that Jim and Stuart have and the things that they've provided. You know, I've never had that anywhere I've worked ever.
Well, definitely, you know, you own your own business, but you know, there's owners of the company that you kind of do things, but basically this is your business. So that's why you're an entrepreneur on those things. But getting down to the nitty gritty of like being able to leave, right? You know, that was very tough for you to do at that first time. And being an entrepreneur, having kids, I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there, you know, they don't put time for themselves. Right. So you as a superhero, especially a lot of superheroes, right? You know, you got Marvel superheroes, this and that. They always got to save the day, right?
Right.
So putting time for yourself, when you explained that story to me, I think it was more or less what I got out of it was, yeah, you know, great, you're going down there, they're taking care of you, you know, the company really puts emphasis onto that. But what I also got out of it, that the enjoyment that you got to get away for yourself,
well, it changed
for
our
a
lives.
day. Yeah. Yes.
It changed our lives because we travel now, right? And she
knowing
knows,
that one time that you could do it.
And it was like we had to break it, right?
Yeah.
Like my wife at one point was so scared to leave our daughter. Well, what if the babysitter, what if she goes into a seizure? What if? And there's a restaurant along the lakeshore where we live, just 5 minutes down the road. And so I started with her doing that. I was like, Jen, we have to do this. Mm-hmm. We have to have
some time for,
right?
Or you feel like you're just going crazy.
Yeah. And so, you know, it started with just simple stuff, going to a restaurant. And then it was staying at a hotel 5 minutes from our house.
Yeah.
Right?
Baby steps,
right? And it was...
Kristi, we might try that ourselves. Staying at a hotel 5 minutes away from our house.
You should. You should, you know? Because if you got to, you can jump in the car. But it was really... It was Stuart Hunter, who owns... one of the two owners of Benchmark Mortgage, that changed that for us. I mean, changed that for us because now we travel. And my wife looks forward to our Benchmark production trips every October because every person that owns a branch around the country are like our family.
Yeah.
But it was that one moment. And since then, we've been able to do that. And we've learned that, like Kristi said, every day is an opportunity, right? And if you're so in the grind being an entrepreneur that you don't take time to value that, you're not going to get it back.
No, you're not.
Never going to get it back.
Never.
So, yeah, we're incredibly thankful, and it's a memory that we have and we still talk about to this day.
Yeah, going back on the time thing where you said, you know, you only have 38 more summers, this and that. You know, myself, I think I'm actually getting a new tattoo. Basically, I'm going to get, and I want to get a clock, right? You know, to really remind me that, look, my time is running out, you know.
Right.
And when you're a kid, you know, just like your 7-year-old, my 6-year-olds, you know, my 5-year-old, my 9-year-old, my 11, 12-year-old, those kids, I look at them, you know, they don't think about time like, you know, I do, or like yourself. I know when I was a kid, I didn't think about time like that. But yeah, it's really weird on that. And to think about those things of, like, how much time do you really have? You know, trying to give more time to yourself and give more time to your kids and give more time to your business. It's a tough pull, though. It really is.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but this exon 4 is, I'm right-handed. And so this exon 4 is the deletion of Brenna's chromosome on her DNA that causes her to have Rett syndrome. And she loves Mickey Mouse. So, you know, I was a big tough guy, or at least I think I am. I got a Mickey Mouse tattoo in this, but every time I sign something when I'm working, typing, working out, reminds me to be a great dad.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's why we think of you as a superhero, definitely as a awesome parent.
Thank you.
And is there any way, like, that our listeners and people in general that hear this conversation, entrepreneurs, things like that, is there anything that they can do, not for you or yourself or for your daughter, but is there anything that they can do on a charitable standpoint?
Yeah, they could go to teambrennaboo.com.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure we can put it in a link here or whatever. Yeah. But it's we're big fans of the 501c Rett Syndrome Research Trust, and all the funds that are raised for Brenna, we send there so that it can be dispersed among other little girls throughout the country.
Is there a lot of people that have this, huh?
1 out of 10,000 girls every day is born with Rett syndrome.
Wow.
Yeah. There is actually one young man that I met at a walk that he's like 1 out of 3 men or boys that are living. He actually lives in Ann Arbor, or did until last I knew.
So you, as a person that goes through this every day, dealing with your daughter with Rett's, what would you say to any other parent out there that's dealing with not only Rett's, but let's say a parent that's dealing with anything? I know, like, Kristi has her nephew and her niece. They have a child that has leukemia. Mm-hmm. And they're going through that every day. And, like, I follow their story.
#be the match.
Yeah, I follow their story every day, and I'm like amazed that, you know, like my little minute thing of, you know, my son Lion or, you know, Noah, I don't want to go play hockey today, you know, freaking out on that. You know, then I look at your situation or I look at their situation. I'm like, wow, you know, I don't really have it that bad. Yeah, I got 5 kids and I feel like I'm pulling my hair out somewhat, but I don't have it bad. But you probably feel the same way, that you don't have it that bad, you know?
I do. Yeah. One thing that with Brenna and with her situation is that I learned that, and I believe this, and that this would be what I would encourage anyone that listens into this that might have an issue or a special needs child or someone going through cancer, is that no person's bad day is worse than my bad day. You know, Brenna could have 16 seizures. You could break your toe. It still sucks, right? Huh. It's still a bad day. But it doesn't mean you can't go on with life, right? Huh. It's all how you handle what has come to you. And for us, our big thing is, hey, our day is no worse than your day. Now, I can't understand what it's like to have a child that goes through cancer because I've never been there. I can't understand what some of our veterans have gone through because I didn't serve. I don't know what that brother or sisterhood's like, right? I don't know. But I've had an employee whose daughter did just go through cancer, and thankfully, thank God, she's come through and is out of remission and is doing great and fine. I can talk to, I feel, to the point of, man, I know what the hurt and pain it is to go through that, but I can never say I know what it's like to have so I don't know what it's like for other folks to have issues. All I can say is that you got to take advantage of the time you have now because it's precious. And there is, in my world, there is nothing more important, period, than my family, period.
That's fine. That's good. So quick other question for you is to really put this out to other people and other entrepreneurs or people that's going through issues or whatnot. How do you go about your day, or how do you go about your life, or how do you go about with Brenna and your other son and your wife? How do you guys go about on, like, delegating, outsourcing, or automating your lives?
Well, it's kind of funny. We have girl jobs and boy jobs, right? Okay. You know, so I don't do laundry, but my wife doesn't do trash, right? And we've got a lot of things like that in our household that we do, okay. Right? And we constantly are chameleoning and changing to those things that we do. For instance, Brenna's getting heavy. You know, she's up to about 80 pounds right now, and it's getting really tough for my wife with her back. And eventually we're going to have to get a boost for her. So pretty much it's me getting her out of bed, putting her into bed, lifting her. And so those things are always constantly changing. And I think that it's important what I could say to any married couple or couples out there is never try and keep score. That's the worst thing you can do.
You know what? That's in any marriage, regardless of whether you have children, regardless of anything.
Yeah. So our big thing is definitely don't keep score. So we're very proficient with our time.
I keep score all the time. Christina do this, Christina do that. Hey, right. wait a minute.
Right.
But I always win.
Yeah, well, that's smart. So no, for us, we're very diligent with our time blocking and with what we do with our days. And really, with Brenna, we have to be, because she has to have certain medicines at certain times. She has to eat at certain times. If she doesn't, that can bring on an onset of different seizures. And the big thing with any child with special needs going through cancer, one other thing that I could encourage those parents would be, don't forget about your other kids, right? Make sure that they feel just as special. I coach Grayson in football, and I want him to know he's my buddy, and I don't ever want him to get later down in life and say, you did all this stuff for Brenna, but you never did this stuff for me, right? And so we always try to keep that cognitive in our mind as well. So
I get yelled at all the time about that. We got 5, by the way. Remember that?
Yes, I know. So you guys really must be diligent with your time blocking.
Oh yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
So very flexible, and we definitely have. We definitely still need to work on building our village, and making sure we have the right people around us.
Yes, our village is open for new residents.
Right, we're taking applications now.
We're taking applications now. We're losing our nanny pretty soon, so.
Yeah.
20 days.
Yeah. Full time.
Not that I'm counting down.
Full time. We need a house manager. You're not be a nanny. You're be a house manager. A little bit better verbiage there.
Yeah. It looks better on the resume.
Yeah, it looks better on the resume.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was a house manager. So, I'm hearing, and when I'm talking to you today and things like that, when I talked to you even before today on this podcast, basically, it's Superhero Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
We consider you to be a superhero. That's why we're having you on. So I'm hearing when you're talking, you really not consider yourself as a superhero.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Just want to take a break into action to say thank you for watching KNE Realty 360. And while you're here, please take a minute to like and subscribe below for more episodes of other fantastic content produced by my amazing team. You can also follow us online via Facebook or Instagram at KNE Realty 360. Thank you, enjoy, and keep it real.
I've changed as a person. I mean, I wasn't the same person I was 9 years ago. I can tell you that right now. And a level of huge humility has come into not only my life, but my wife's life, right? Mm-hmm. We were traveling 4 or 5 times a year and buying Rolexes and doing this and buying these. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but where we are now in our lives is just enjoying every single moment we possibly can.
I enjoy my time with my kids too, but every once in a while I do tell my 12-year-old, I say, I could have bought a Porsche.
Exactly.
So,
there's that. There's that.
Every once in a while. Right?
You haven't gotten there yet. Your kids are still kind of young.
Yeah, they're still kind of young. Yeah. So, no, I haven't gotten there.
When you get there, I want you to call me and be like, you know what? I was there. I remember that day. I was there.
Yeah. Ed, I'm stopping by, pick you up in the Porsche. Yeah. So, no, I really, like all I can say is humility. My wife and I have gone through, I feel like a full cup dose of that. So when someone says, I think you're a superhero, I'm like, what? And I really always think that, hey, no, it's not me. It's Brenna, or it's not me. It's my wife, because when I'm at work, she's still doing it and is there 24/7 for her.
Definitely. So. I would love to have her. I know Kristi does Wonder Woman Wednesdays.
Oh, and, for sure.
Definitely would love to have her come on and talk about herself. And, not a lot of people, give you that gratitude. I know myself as an entrepreneur, and, when I show up at I take my kids out to Applebee's or Chili's, things like that, stuff that we like doing with our kids. And I'm by myself, my God, how many people I've had pay for our food or whatever. And they're like, oh, sometimes they say, oh, it gets easier. And I'm like, I can tell that I'm really stressed out. My kids just are on my last nerve that day. But what I will say is, when people are doing that, when people do that to me, I kind of deflect on that too. But, having 5 kids and having yourself have 2 kids and having a business and Kristi herself and things like that, we are, we need to pat ourselves on the back. And do you do that once in a while for yourself as an entrepreneur, as a dad, as a superhero dad too?
I do my reflection, when I read through my journal or different things. And my wife, she is a superhero. So she will send me texts just, hey, I love you. Thank you for everything that you do for our family. One of the things that I did for Jen that just came into my mind is, talking about going out. We get a ton of people that obviously stare at us with a girl that can't control her hands and sit in her face or whatever. So Jen would come home a lot of times crying, right? And so...
Is that because people are basically just being mean, or? No,
just people don't know what they don't know, and they're wondering, why is this girl in this wheelchair and hitting herself in the face, and such like that. Or sometimes she'll drool or whatever it might be, and other times she's just a gorgeous little girl, always a gorgeous little girl. So I had these cards made that we call our information cards. And
can I see one of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did is I had those made for Jen. And what has happened by doing that is, she can, when someone's staring at her, we'll say, hey, listen, I noticed that you're looking at our daughter. You don't read this now, but when you get an opportunity and you're at home, please read this, right? And what's been incredible and really has changed my wife's world, and she'll come home. The whole point was to get her to not to cry, but she'll come home in tears.
Okay, this will make me cry. Like, I'm tearing up right now.
So now when she goes to Target or a grocery store, when Brenna comes through, the cashiers will be like, oh my gosh, it's Brenna, right? Uh-huh. And they're like, hi, Brenna. And my wife is like, how do you know Brenna? And they're like, because her card is pinned up in our backboard in the back office.
Yeah.
Oh, how amazing.
That's cool.
So the cards have been a really great thing. And, it's good to give them out too.
Definitely, for sure. So going back to being an entrepreneur and being a dad and being a parent, it seems like you guys have a lot of some setbacks here and there, right?
Sure.
A lot of setbacks, more than you can talk, a little bit. How do you take those setbacks in stride? How do you deal with those setbacks?
Yeah, I take them in stride. I use them to fuel the fire. That's just the kind of guy I am, Sometimes it's tougher. We have what we call, my wife and I have named Rett days, right? Okay. And a Rett day can knock her down pretty hard, right? So
that's your wife or your okay.
Yeah. For me, I usually get one like once every 6 months where it's just boom, hits me, right? And I talk to a couple good people, maybe I have some tears of awesomeness and I'm back up and at it because I feel like, like I can never quit. Because I'm the rock and I got to keep moving forward. So yeah, setbacks happen, but it's how you get up and go forward, in my opinion. I'm not the kind of guy that dwells on setbacks. I don't have time for that.
Okay. So no matter how hard you try, mistakes will be made. Yeah. And you just get right back up, brush yourself off.
Yeah. You have to. I mean, I think there's a time to take that moment. You have to have that, moment for yourself, that quiet time, whatever that is. I think that it's important to have it so you recognize it still stays real inside. But for me personally, I just keep moving forward.
Okay.
But I think you got to have it, otherwise it's going to come to a head one day and could be worse.
Yep. Could be worse. Belief. Life always could be worse.
Could.
Yeah. So definitely, for sure. Any other things that you want to talk about, Kristi? No.
Nope.
So anything?
I'm still tearing up on this.
On the card.
We're gonna post this. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're definitely gonna post that card, guys, so you can read it.
And if you want to hear more on Brenna's story, go to www.teambrenna, BRENNABOO.com. teambrennaboo.com.
And that's where people can donate to?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So hopefully you get some donations, to that cause and whatnot. Hey, just real quick,
She got beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
just like her mom.
Beautiful girl. Being a young girl like that, medication wise, I just kind of want to hit on that a little bit.
Sure.
That's off topic. That's definitely not any superhero stuff or whatever. But medication wise, is she on a lot of medications?
She is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
She has to take 2 syringes full of anti-seizure medicine every single morning and every single night, and she hates it. And so we hope that one day that we can wean her off that. And she wasn't on any seizure medication until a year ago, and then things got really bad.
So there's a lot of seizures and stuff like that.
Yeah, 16 a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they like grand mal seizures, or are they?
Some are what they would call petite malls, and others are the girls with Rett syndrome go through something they call dystonia. Okay. So they have a seizure-like look, but they're cognitive, and a lot of times we can talk her through that or rub her on her back, and and she comes back to.
Okay.
And then she also has to take other medications as well for like Miralax and such things of, because certain things in the body just don't work.
Definitely.
Thankfully, she hasn't had to go to like a feeding tube or anything at this point, right? She does have really bad scoliosis. At one point in time, she will have to have a spinal fusion. It's kind of one of those things that goes along with Rett syndrome.
Wow.
So, yeah, the medication. But again, I guess I look at that medication and it's just a part of life. It's like waking up in the morning and making your protein shake. So
I definitely want to read about, what's Rett, and basically, I'm definitely going to go on that website and check that out. I love hearing about, yourself and your family, and how you deal with your life and how you deal with your being a dad and entrepreneur yourself and things like that. I know myself, I try to get people to explain to me how to do it, because they don't write a book on that, right?
Right.
But for sure, I appreciate you guys coming on today on our Superhero Tuesdays. But yeah, me and myself, my Kristi, my team, we do think of you guys as you and your wife as superheroes.
Awesome.
Especially being entrepreneurs the way you guys are, helping out vets, helping out first responders, our military people for sure, and not only that, helping out your kids. Even though one of your kids has special needs, but also your other kid that's just
all kids have special needs. Some are just more than others.
That's right.
So helping out both your kids, and I just want to say to you that we do think of you as a superhero, and just keep it up.
Well, thank you for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
We're glad you made it up here. Thank you.